More than 47,000 people died from drug overdoses in 2014. Arkansas contributing to this statistic with the 25th highest death rate in the country.
In May, we told you Arkansas isn't high on the country's watch list for heroin, but as prescription drug abuse gets worse, leaders fear heroin abuse could grow.
In the first half of a two-part series, KTHV 11's Marielle Mohs investigates the severity of this problem in the state and where we're headed.
Dawn and Craig, when we think of a drug overdose, it's easy to think of street drugs like heroin or fentanyl. But there are very similar ingredients that are in our commonly used prescriptions like Vicodin, Percocet, or hydrocodone, with these being prescribed by doctors and labeled safe by the government. So how do we avoid becoming a part of Addicted Arkansas?
He had the second highest PSAT scores at Central High. He wanted to go to Columbia University and major in engineering.
A bright path ahead for Albert Speed, a Little Rock native who loved everything that makes Arkansas natural. That's until
he lost his zest for life.
An addiction took over.
There's nothing worse in a parent's life than to find out that their child is dead.
Gary Speed lost his 18-year-old son in 2006 to a prescription drug overdose.
The combination of the methadone and Xanax essentially shut down his respiratory system and he suffocated.
15 months before his death, Speed found marijuana in Albert's car and confiscated it.
He got really mad at me and decided that he was leaving, and he left my house, and I realized then that I had a real problem.
His son's anger and lack of enthusiasm were warning signs he was abusing more than just pot.
Be honest with yourself, don't be in denial.
An addiction like Albert's, all too familiar, with 400 overdose deaths happening a year in Arkansas.
I mean, it tells you we're having more than one a day on average.
John Kirtley with the state's pharmaceutical board says abuse is obvious when you see how many medicines are turned in as part of their drug take-back program.
It's not like everybody cleaned up their medication cabinets once and we were good and we were done for.
Arkansas's drug take-back program is very successful, collecting more than 25,000 pounds worth of prescription drugs just last April. But the pharmaceutical board says this success is scary, with Arkansas having significantly more prescription drugs than its neighboring states of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama.
We keep repeating this every 6 months. That's how many prescription drugs there are in the state of Arkansas.
The sale of opioids in Arkansas is 25% higher than the national average, according to the Arkansas Center for Health Improvement.
They can become addicted to what everybody thinks is very safe because a doctor prescribed it.
Matthew Barden, special agent with the DEA, says prescription abuse can lead to harder drugs like heroin. In 2001, Arkansas State Crime Lab recorded 8 cases of heroin. So far in 2016, there's been 63, with the year only halfway over.
So many of the people that are addicted to heroin and to opioids will tell you that they first got hooked on pain medication.
Just like addiction to heroin starts early with pain pills, prevention starts early with education.
When I look at my 12-year-old daughter, I think she's too young for me to talk to about drug abuse. But what you find in reading these statistics is she's actually old enough that I should have already started talking to her.
A simple talk that could give Arkansas's future a future.
He gave it all up for some pills, and it was just a total waste. He gave up his dreams.
Now, education is just a part of prevention, and the state is doing much more to combat it. The second part of our story continues tomorrow, where I explain how police are already learning how to combat and reverse overdoses, as well as how the state is already tracking your medication refills. That story tomorrow on KTHV 11 News at 6.